do some monkey shenanigans for a little while and see if we get the streams going. I'm on the computer, the newer computer, the M1, so hopefully we have no issues. Hopefully, been at it for a while now, actually. So we will see. Says we're live. Looks like we're live. Probably not live. No way to know that we're live. Just got to refresh that page and hope Facebook gives me the video. Come on, Facebook. Show me live. There we are. Yeah, hey, look, I see myself. All right, perfect. Wonderful. Okay, cool. You know what to do, everyone. I got a couple people watching already. Welcome in. Drop a comment. Let me know that you can see me, that you can hear me, and where the hell you're from, because I wanna know. I want to know where you're coming in from. We usually have some people over from California. We got a couple people down in Florida. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Sorry. All over the country. Do we have anybody from overseas? I guess it's probably a weird time. I don't even know what time it is overseas. What's the overseas time zone? Oh, nobody knows. That's okay. Yeah, we got a good handful of kids in here now. Got lots to cover. That's good. That's good. It's been a few weeks. I know. My bad. We drove to Texas last week. For like a kid's spring break thing, which is pretty cool. Did it in one day. We have a new puppy, and she just was a trooper. She was awesome. She's just champion. She just sat in the back and just laid down, chill. Cody's in from Nebraska. There we go. Got our first victim. Welcome in, Cody Blocker. What's up, man? Good to see you. What was I saying? Yeah, so she just like laid down in the back. She was just super sweet. Our old dog sucks, and he's a pain in the ass. He was like whining the whole time, but we did it. We made it work. So missed last week. The week before that, I was lazy or something. I can't remember. Next week, what's next week? Next week, I'm flying to Idaho. Actually, we'll be at the Idaho Writers Guild conference, speaking and presenting up there. So if you're in that Boise neck of the woods, let me know. I'd love to grab you a drink of your choice on me. But yeah, I'll be there next week. So probably no live stream. I don't know. I'm going to be on an airplane, landing at 10:40, and I'm not staying in a hotel. I'm staying in an Airbnb downtown Boise, and so I don't know. I don't know that I'll be able to set up because I don't check in until 3. So probably no live stream next week. I'll keep you guys posted. What's up, Karen? Massachusetts. Where at in Massachusetts? I got family up in Massachusetts. They're all over the place. Billerica is where most of them, I think a couple of them live. Joan Redmond in Bakersfield. What up, friend? How are you? Glad to see you again. I know it's been a little while. I was just explaining myself. So next week I'll be in Idaho. Most likely no live stream unless we bump it a little later, which we could try. Week after that, I'm in Texas for my wife's best friend's wedding. And then the week after that, I'm in Oklahoma. Probably we'll be able to do a live stream from the hotel like we did. One of the first ones we did was in that same hotel. Brandon, there he is. I knew we had an overseas guy. What time is it there, bud? Bali. Crazy, man. Reading. Okay, North Shore, Massachusetts. Yeah, I've been up there before. Been up there a couple times. I love Massachusetts. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. I actually think the people are pretty nice. You know what they say about those massholes. I like them. I think they're fun. If you got to be a fan of any sports team, you might as well pick a franchise like the ones they have in Massachusetts. They don't make sports like that anywhere else. Canada. Why did I forget Canada? I feel like it's a state at this point. It's just a couple United States up there. I don't even know what states you guys have up there. One state is Alaska. That's part of Canada, right? Alaska. You guys have. Is Ontario a thing? Is that real? Is that a city? And I'm mostly joking, by the way. Alberta, Saskatchewan. Is that how you say it? Northwest Territory, which I used to think was territories. It's just one. It's just one territory. It's not even a collection of territories. You guys should fix that. It should be plural, by the way. You don't have states. You have provinces. Okay. Hey, guess what? That's a state. It's just not as cool. It's all right. It's fine. Canada, that's how it is. It's like America Light. It's like Bud Light. If you have to drink beer, if you don't have anything else, go for it. I love you. Okay, Alberta. Regina. I know how to say that one. Paul. Don't even get me started on that, dude. I haven't been there, but I've worked with someone who was in Regina. Anyway, what time is it? 10:05. Man, whew, the banter is. I'm usually my tech doesn't work until 10:05, so I usually have 5 solid minutes of banter, and then we can get started. But whatever. Hey, we're all having a good time. I actually do have quite a bit to cover. I say actually. I hate when people say actually because it's like I normally don't. Maybe that's true. People are like, they read my book and they're, somebody said this to me the other day. I was in Texas. Hey, I read your book and it was actually really good. Screw you, man. As if, what did you expect it to not be good? Is that what you wanted? What up, Wes? Vancouver, British Columbia. I don't even know what those words mean. Is that Columbia? Is that South America, right? So you're in the British version of South America? Gotcha. I'm with you, man. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Sneha says, provinces are a state of mind. I love it. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is a Poop on Canada hour, folks. If you didn't know, that's just whatever Canadian jokes you got, bring them on. I love it. Robin probably likes it a little bit less, but hey, you know what? She showed up to the Poop on Canada hour, and that's not my fault. That's her fault. That's her fault. It's not my fault. Sorry, I'm amped up today. I'm fired up. I'm excited. Mostly because this is content that I cannot believe we haven't actually covered yet. We've never talked about audiobooks on this channel, on live streams. The way this came to be, and I'll do the little promo at the end, right? I mean, I'm always selling something to you folks, suckers. I'm just kidding. I love you. But Book Career in a Year is it's this group, it's this community. That's the most important thing. It's teaching you or anyone who comes by how to develop a book career in a single year. Okay, I am teaching and building as I go, which means you will go to the website BookCareerInAYear.com and you will find not a full list of courses and material and free stuff because I haven't built it all yet. I'm doing that as we speak. Literally, this right now, I'm speaking, and this is going to become content, right? This is going to become either a workbook or it's going to become, a little free session or whatever. All these live streams live on the website, by the way. If you didn't know that, go to learn.bookcareerinayear.com. You can find all the live streams. Sign up. It's a free account. There's an app. The point is, all of this stuff is intended to become, one day, the place to learn how to build a fiction career, a career writing fiction in a year or less or more, depending on what you want to do. Book career in a year. That's the goal. So obviously we're building as we go. And I was in Texas last week. I mentioned staying with my family. Kids were outside in the pool, and I'm farting around, wanting something to do because I can't not work, and I don't know how to sit by a pool and just drink one of those Bud Lights I talked about. I can't do it. I have to be doing something work related, And so I thought, I just had a meeting a week prior with a good friend I used to work with at a church with her, and she's working with someone on creating an audiobook. She's producing an audiobook. And I was giving her all this information. I'm like, oh, I've done this and this and this, and I've felt like this. Don't go that route. Don't do this. And I came to realize that needs to be a course. This material needs to be a Book Career in a Year course, literally a walkthrough training on how to do all of the stuff we're about to talk about. So I started doing that, folks. I started recording. I got it, halfway through the videos. I'm showing you how to use a DAW, digital audio workstation. We'll talk about that to produce your own. And I'm just going to go for it. We're going to make this a course. And I'm going to sell it, but you are here and you're getting this information. Obviously, the course we're gonna break it down. We'll get into the nitty gritty details and stuff. But I want to give you this high level overview of how I approach audiobooks for authors. Cool. That's what we're going to do in the live stream. You don't have to buy the course, obviously, but if you're interested, you know the drill. It'll be very affordable. It's going to be something that's very accessible, and it will be it's a full course. It's not going to be a little, half-assed thing where I talk a couple times. It's a full course. All the videos are broken down, organized, showing you exactly what to do. But I'll tell you more about that at the end. Don't worry about it. Today, we're going to talk about this, like I said, high-level overview of audiobooks. We're going to start here. Audiobooks are a big deal. And if you are not in audio, get in audio. You want to make more money? Get in audio. If you already are in audio, meaning you've got a book or 2 or 3 produced, get more into audio. Figure out how to make the best of your audio life situation. Sorry, just got text messages. Okay, cool. Figure out how to take this asset you have called audio and put it out as wide as possible. Okay. And that's a hint. Because audio is huge. And in the course, I talk, I get some details about like numbers and all that stuff. I don't have that at arm's length right now, at my fingertips is, I guess, the right term. But there are all these stats. You can go Google it. Depending on where you read, Publishers Weekly, I think, was the source I found. Basically, audiobooks are growing year over year over year, and they may have slowed down a little bit in growth, but they're still catching up to ebooks, meaning we've got this huge market of people who read ebooks. We already know that. We have a huge market of people who read paper and hardcover, and we have this tiny little, and then now not so tiny, market of people listening to audiobooks. And here's the key that I want to leave you with. The whole point, I guess, is this little market isn't so little. It generates a lot of money. And it's also one that may not be necessarily the same market as people you're already reaching with your ebooks and paperbacks, right? So you have readers. These are real readers, people who consume audio or consume books in the form of audio. I call them readers. I mean, listeners, obviously, because they're listening, but they're your readers. And you haven't even found them yet because they don't read on Kindle or they don't read paperback books. So I don't know why. It doesn't matter. There's all these reasons, but they love consuming audio. Okay. And then of course there are people who have seen your books. They know who you are, and maybe they've read a book or two, but they just don't have the ability to read right now for whatever reason. Maybe they can't see very well. You know, I have this all the time. People on my list tell me I can't. I'm hard of my sight, whatever. I'm legally blind or whatever. And they love audio. And so there's people who may have heard of you who also won't buy your stuff right now because it's not in audio. And then maybe you've got some audiobooks, like I said, and you're just you don't really know what to do with them. You don't know how to market them, get them out there. That's a whole different conversation, but we're going to get into a little bit of that at the end. But I want to break this down the same way I'm breaking down this course and give you some high level insights, maybe some tools, maybe some ideas to get the fire lit underneath you guys, because audio is huge. It's not going anywhere. On the contrary, it's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more important. When you look at the news, like Spotify acquiring Findaway, which is a friend of mine, Will Degas, started this company for some amazing amount of money, and he's doing well. And they're basically they are investing in audio heavily. They know that it's a big thing. They know that people are listening already on Spotify, and they know that they want different types of content. So they added podcasts not too long ago. Then all of a sudden they added audiobooks this year. So the point is, if a company like Spotify is getting into audio as heavily as they are, you should be paying attention to that. We're going to talk about AI a little bit. We're going to talk about how the Googles, IBMs, Apples, Amazons of the world, these huge companies, including Spotify, are getting into AI and AI audio and narration and all that. Don't worry. Reserve your judgment until the end, please. I've got some comments on all that, but that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so we're going to jump in. If you're new here, welcome. Hi, I love you. You're in the right place, probably, maybe not. If you're on YouTube or Twitter or X or whatever it's called, you're in the wrong place. I will be there. I will answer comments and whatever as I get to it. I'm kind of lazy. But if you want to jump over to the Facebook group, that's the place to be. Okay, that's where we're going to be hanging out here. The reason for that is, one, it's my group, and I love it, and I'm an egomaniac, and so if you aren't in my group, then I don't like you. No, the real reason is I can see the comments as we go. So as we go, leave a question, drop a comment, put your comment on a $20 bill and drop it in the box. That's what I used to say at church. Oh yeah, you have feedback for my music? Cool. Drop it in a 20 drop, whatever. Anyway, leave a comment, guys. Welcome in. Sorry. Told you I'm amped up today. It's this Rockstar. It's zero, so it's healthy. There's no sugar in it. Okay, here we go. I gave you the overview of the audiobook market. It's big, it's growing, it's massive. Here are some benefits, though. Why you want to be in audio. Obviously, we talked about the reach. There's a lot of people out there consuming audio. But it's also about accessibility. Okay, I just kind of briefly mentioned this, but this is huge. As my readership cohort gets older, right? Everybody gets old. None of my readers are getting younger. But they started kind of, in their 50s to 60s to 70s. That's kind of my main demographic. They're not getting any younger, right? And as they age, my books are becoming less accessible to some of them. I mentioned being blind, but just even, not wanting to hold a heavy book if they read only in paperback. Audio is a way to be more accessible to people, okay? Audio is a way to reach people who may, for whatever reason, may not be able to read your books in their current form. So accessibility is a major reason to think about audio. And then finally, market growth. I mentioned this first. The market for people reserving audio or buying audiobooks is just growing every day. Sorry, I was reading Matt's comment. Yes, we are snarky here and we love it. The market for audio in general is increasing. Now, I believe the market for books is increasing. We're going back to entertainment in the form of books more than we ever have in recent history. And audiobooks is part of that. But even within that, even if the overall market of like readers went down, audiobooks has still been growing. And I believe it still will grow. So get in now and try to stake your claim, if you will. We'll talk about how to do that. Okay, so the course and what we're going to talk about today is split into two main areas. There are essentially two facets of audio production or audio making an audiobook, right? And this is what I met with that friend of mine and told her. I said, there's production of the audiobook first. You can't market something you don't have, right? Just like this is the writing the book part, right? Assuming you already have the book. This is the process where you're creating the thing. Okay, the production. We're going to call that production. The second phase is the distribution, getting it out there to the world. That may include some marketing tactics, but generally speaking, your distribution is going to be how do you sell the book? How do you give it away? Whatever you do after you've produced it, okay? Easy peasy. So production first, distribution second. That's how we're going to kind of frame all this stuff. First of all, underneath production, in the production bucket, there are three ways of going about this, okay? These ways are probably pretty obvious to you. One of them is pretty new, wink, wink. But the first way is to self-narrate. That is where you do what I'm doing right now. You're talking to a microphone at your computer screen or at your Kindle as you're reading your book. You are narrating your own audiobook, okay? That's number one way of producing your book. The second way, and these are in no particular order, by the way. They're just kind of what people think about first. If you want to kind of up the game a little bit or make it a little bit more professional, depending on, if your voice isn't that good, whatever, or you don't have one or you don't want to do it, you might look at hiring a paid narrator. This is somebody you go out and say, hey, I need you to produce this book for me. Here's the terms. And they say, great, here you go. And they give you the files and then the production's over. They've done most of the production. You do a little bit, maybe some editing, things like that. But generally speaking, they handle the production for you. All you have to do is distribute it. So you just upload the book. Easy peasy. And then the third way, the new way on the block, the shiny new object, if you will, is AI narration. This big, scary, everyone's stealing our work, unethical kind of stuff. Right, we're going to talk about that's not true. AI narrators. Okay, these are not getting any worse, and they're pretty dang good already. Okay, we're going to talk about that. So that's the third way you can produce your book. I'm going to briefly talk about each of these. Really briefly, I'm going to go into self-narration because we don't have the ability and the time in this kind of call to show you a DAW and get into the programs and stuff that I use. But I'll just describe them and you'll just nod your head and go, oh, I know what you're talking about. And then if you really want more information, again, there's a course I'm working on. It will show you all that stuff. It will literally tell you what to download and how to use it and all that, how to set levels. But generally speaking, we'll just say that self-narration is a way to produce your own book. And these days, it is very simple to do that, folks. You do not have to hire a studio. You don't need to have a producer. The lady I was talking to, she was like, you have to have a producer, right? And I was like, no, you don't. What would they wouldn't do anything. You just sit there and you're not like mixing a live band. Like there's just one voice. It's not even stereo. It's probably mono, right? You don't need to have a producer. You are the producer. What you need is a computer. You got to talk into something, right? Trust me, you don't want to record onto a tape recorder. That's not going to work. Get a computer, right? You're looking at me through one, so use that. You need a microphone. I'm using the Yeti Nano. It's by a company called Blue. They make the Snowball, which I have recorded an audiobook on. It's their lowest quality microphone, and it's still plenty good enough to record an audiobook, okay? So the lowest model of Blue. Now, there are better microphones than other stuff you can buy. Don't go get some USB crap on Amazon. That's not going to work. Get a decent microphone. I mean, you could buy it on Amazon, but it needs to be probably $40-$50 minimum. Okay, but that'll work. That'll be great. That's going to give you the frequency spectrum you need. The lows, the highs, the sibilance, we call that up there, right? You need to get all that stuff in there. And most USB microphones these days that are about $40-$50 and up will be able to do that. I've also used the Yeti, not the Nano, but the Yeti, which is a big, capsule-looking microphone. It's great. Doesn't really matter. Just get something that can record a voice that sounds really good. Now, if you've heard me talk about dictation, this is a little bit different. Dictation, you don't need to worry about the quality. It just needs to get good enough. It needs to, it can have some of that graveliness in it. It can be a compressed sound like you're talking through a telephone, because Dragon or OpenAI, whatever's picking up your dictation and transcribing it, as long as it can hear the words, it doesn't care about the quality. Audio narration is not that, okay? You need to make sure that you've got a certain amount of quality in there, because when you do distribute, every single distribution service, or store, I should say, at the receiving end, is going to require a certain level of quality. You'll see numbers like 192 kbps or 3200 kilohertz or 48.1 thousand. Like, so all these numbers, and again, I'm not going to talk about them here, but just know that quality is a thing in audio production. But you don't need to worry about it too much. Just go get a decent microphone and make sure it's USB. Most of them will be, and you'll be good to go. If you are an audio person, and I can say things like get a digital audio converter or an interface, and you know what I'm talking about, you can certainly go that route. But that means you're going to have an XLR cable. You need to have probably some kind of, potentially phantom power if you've got a really nice mic, a boom stand, XLR cables. It's a whole thing, right? But even then, your interface is going to plug into your computer. How? Via USB. So USB, just get the microphone plugged directly into USB, and you're good to go. Should be fine. Now, when you've got those two things, you may need a microphone stand. I use the Yeti, which has its own little stand. The point is, once you've got a microphone that can sit on your desk, that you're not holding, right? Hey, Randall, good to see you too, man. Once you've got this stuff set up, then you're ready to record. Now, what do you record into is the next question. I'm on a Mac. I highly recommend Mac. It's just better than everything else. I'm sorry, Windows. I'm not really sorry. You guys had plenty of time to figure it out. You can do this on Windows, but I like Mac because it really just is easy. You don't have to install drivers. You just literally plug and play whatever USB mic you've got. Then you need something called a digital audio workstation, or a DAW. Okay, and I say need. The truth is, you could probably get away with recording into Windows Movie Maker, whatever it's called, Windows Media Player, that kind of thing, or on Mac QuickTime Player. You can record an audio file in that, and you could certainly just press record, talk your first chapter into the recording, save it, and you're done. But if you need to change something like add more noise floor or room noise, or the noise floor is too high, or your RMS is not the decibel setting is wrong, like you can't really change that in those simple programs. So get a DAW. Now, if you're on a Mac, one of the best ones on the market is GarageBand. I use Logic Pro 10, which is like GarageBand. It's like the full professional version of it. You don't need that. GarageBand is free. It works super well for this, and it has more than enough features you'll need. You can download GarageBand. You can use Audacity if you're on Windows. If you want to gouge your eyes out with a spoon, it's very ugly, but it totally works fine. It's Windows, Mac, I think even Linux. And it's also free, so it's open source. So if you need a DAW and you don't have anything like that, Audacity or GarageBand. Those are the two that I'd recommend. Finally, once you are starting to record, you probably, I'll talk about kind of how to do this. I want to make sure I'm still going. Hopefully you guys can still see me. It looks like I cut out over here on Facebook, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, drop me a comment. Let me know that I'm still here. I'd appreciate that. Yeah, so real quick comment from Paul. If you have a friend who's an audio geek, I'd recommend asking if you can go over and test their mics. I did this and discovered that a $100 Audio-Technica mic sounded better than all his $200 to $800 mics. Yeah, exactly. So every voice is different is the point. Thanks, Randall. And every microphone is going to be tweaked for different. And when I do this, I'm talking, there's literally a frequency response, curve that we can look at and, get real technical about it. And just because it's an $800 mic doesn't mean it's better for what you're doing with your voice, right? Every voice has a nasally quality. Mine is somewhere around the 1,000 to 1,500 place in the frequency. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. The point is everyone's a little different, and every mic's going to sound different. And yes, we can EQ some of this stuff out, but garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you sound like crap in a certain microphone, don't try to go forward with it thinking it's better just because it's $800. Go get yourself a $100 Audio-Technica, which is, by the way, a good microphone. I've used Audio-Technica stuff before, and they make plenty that are affordable. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. The point is, I'm just trying to give you these basic tools because I want you to hear you don't need to overthink this. You don't need an $800 microphone. You don't need a preamp that can handle. You don't need all that stuff. You just need to get a decent USB mic and something that makes your voice sound naturally the way it's supposed to sound, right? No microphone's going to make you sound like, Porter Ray or something like that, right? It's just make it sound like you and record. So you've got your DAW, you've got audio, GarageBand, or the other one I mentioned, Audacity. And literally when you have, this stuff installed and ready to go, you press the button that looks like a record button and you start talking. And that's how you produce your book. When you're done with the chapter, you press end, you press stop, and you export that. And sorry, it's weird. My video just cut out, but oh well. We're just going to pretend like it's working. The the key here is well, actually, let me shift gears a little bit. I want to stop on the we got to get forward. We got to keep going forward on this stuff because there's more stuff to talk about. But the self-narrated stuff, there's a few tips and tricks I will get into in the course part a little bit more. But generally speaking, I keep saying you're going to record your chapter and end. What you don't want to do if you're self-narrating, and this is just one of many tips, you don't want to just sit down and record your entire book, 8 hours of content, right? You don't want to just go forward and have 8 hours, then you have to chop up and figure out where your chapters are. It's far easier to do one chapter at a time and then bounce it out. Bouncing is exporting. That's what we call exporting in audio world. So you just bounce out that file, and it should be at least, an MP3 file with really good settings like 192 kbps, 48 probably thousand hertz, kilohertz, 48 kilohertz, and whatever. There's settings in there that you can tweak and bounce out and make sure you have a high quality MP3, or you can just do a WAV file, which doesn't compress your audio at all. They'll be bigger files, but you're going to be uploading them one at a time to these sites anyway, most likely. So really doesn't matter these days with high speed internet. So WAV is great. The sites that you upload to often will require you to have them broken up by chapter anyway. So that's why I say another reason to record only one chapter at a time is to make sure that you can upload individual chapters at the end without having to do extra work. And because you want to make sure that if something changes, like my microphone sometimes gets fuzzy, right? You guys remember that? So I don't want to record 8 hours of content only to find out that the last 7 hours won't work because my mic was fuzzy. Forces you to take breaks, which brings me to my next tip: take breaks. When you start recording, you want to make sure you're in the environment that you're going to be in for the entirety of the audiobook. You don't want to be recording this way one day and then looking this way the other day because it sounds different. You don't want to be holding your microphone because you introduce all kinds of other weird noise. And you, like Paul said, don't forget pop screen. Buy a cheap little pop screen, pop filter, windscreen, whatever you want to call it. They're actually two different things. One is a filter that goes over the capsule, goes over the microphone, the cap. And then another one is like just a screen. It's like a circle. You've seen people in the recording studio talk into it. These get rid of the pop sounds that sometimes come with a big burst of air. Right. Really important to have those. They're super cheap, so you might as well just get one, but they clip onto your stand or your desk or something, and then you just swivel them over your microphone and they sit between your lips and your microphone. Another great tip is don't drink milk, soda, weird stuff. Just, drink water. Be a normal human, drink water. But do drink something, do drink water at least, so you don't dry out. If you're recording a chapter, even a short chapter can be exhausting. We don't usually talk for this amount of time. Okay, there's more tips in there, but I do want to move on because there's stuff to talk about with the paid narration stuff. So once you've got all these files, you have these MP3 files, then you are ready to move to the distribution side. Okay, but let's say you wanted to have somebody else record your book. How do you go about doing that? Well, the first thing you need to do is find a narrator. That used to be a lot easier because there were a lot more marketplaces for it. Findaway Voices was the place I used to find my narrators. Or I found a few there, I should say. They have since shuttered that side of it, or Spotify has. They don't like it anymore, so you can't find a narrator there. ACX has narrators. I don't like ACX for distribution, but if you want to go to ACX, that's acx.com. It stands for Audiobook Creation Exchange, which is Audible's thing, which of course Audible is owned by Amazon. So ACX used to be the only place in town, really the only game in town, to get narrators. You can go and pay for a narrator, like literally just give them money. Usually, if you're paying for something up front, you usually would pay half up front and then half when it's completed to make sure they don't just run away with your money. But there's all these. ACX makes the contract side easy, which is why I do like the narrator marketplace there. But they let you find a narrator by browsing genre or even gender. If you want a male or female narrator, if you want a raspy voice or a clear voice. They have all these different tags that you can search for. I found one of my favorite narrators back in the day through ACX, and this was a great way to do it. I reached out to the guy and I said, hey, I don't want to pay you because I don't have any money. I want to do a 50-50 royalty split, which is also something that is very common in paid narrator land. Usually a professional narrator has done this before, meaning they literally are going to not charge you anything up front. All they're going to do is agree on a royalty share with you. So they'll say like, hey, 50-50. So whatever you make from this. I'll produce the audiobook for you. You've written the book. You provide the content. I provide the audio. We make this book. We distribute it. And then anything you make, I get 50% of. And ACX was also very good about handling this split for you, but you would have to distribute through them for this to take place. Nowadays, you'd have to do this manually. I don't think even Draft to Digital can do royalty splits for audio. I think we do royalty split for just ebook and print. Could be wrong. I should probably know. But the point is, you can still do a royalty split, so you don't have to pay anything up front. You find the narrator you like, and you just reach out to him and say, hey, I'm an author, and I would love to do an audiobook and have you read it. Would you consider doing a royalty split? The standard is 50-50. If you're just getting started, it could be that you offer, them 60% and you take 40, because, maybe you're not as established. Or if you've got a huge, backlist and you're doing really well and you're like, hey, I'm making like $8,000 in every audiobook that I've done. I just don't have the cash up front to pay. Would you consider doing, you get 40 and I get 60, whatever you want to do, just email them. But the standard is 50-50. That's how you split it up. And then once you do have a contract, you probably want to have something in place. Sorry, I would say probably. Absolutely have a contract in place. You don't want to be going forward. This is a long process, and there's a lot of back and forth, and you don't want them to skip town on you, right? Especially if you're paying up front. So have that contract in place regardless of the arrangement. If you do end up paying them, usually you're paying per finished hour, or PFH. You'll see this number, PFH. It'll be $250 PFH. That's per finished hour. So if your book is 10 hours long, you can expect to pay $2,500 for the production of that audiobook. How you pay for it is different. You can pay half up front, like I said, and half upon completion. You can do, 3. I had monthly deals with some narrators, one of whom I think is here, listening. He's a great guy, a good narrator, and I was like, hey, the cash flow, I can't pay, this huge amount of money up front. Let's split it out over the course of the next few months. I pay you this amount every month. Great. Whatever the arrangement is, have a contract in place so that you know and they know what the expectation is. Okay, you don't want to get left high and dry after you've paid $2,500. You can see that PFH number go all the way up to $800. If you get a really famous or really popular audio narrator, that can be a pretty big number, and your audiobooks get pretty expensive. Okay, I recommend the $200 to $300 PFH range for a couple reasons. First of all, I don't think the gain, the profit, I should say, of selling an audiobook that cost you 3 times more to produce is 3 times more than what you would make with a lower PFH. Does that make sense? So I don't think it's marginal gain, right? You can get a celebrity narrator, and if you think they've got the clout to draw in a lot of readers on their name alone, it might be worth paying a lot more money per finished hour. However, most of the time you're just looking for somebody who's good, who sounds like what you imagine your main character to sound like, or can do the voices you need them to do. Or like me, I prefer kind of monotone. I don't really want somebody reading and acting out my characters. I want someone to just read it to me as if I'm reading and it's my own voice in my head reading it. Does that make sense? There's a lot of readers like me, or listeners like me, who prefer it to be not monotone, like boring, but just reading it straight through. Not trying to do voices, not trying to make a girl voice and guy voice and all that, not doing accents, but just reading it straight through. And so for that, you don't need to spend $800 per finished hour. You can find somebody probably even for less than $200. But that seems to be, even, especially these days, that kind of is the minimum generally. At least the ones that I've seen that are high quality, that know what they're doing. If you come across somebody who's offering to do $15 per finished hour, they probably don't know what they're talking about. It's probably going to be more hassle than it's worth, because you're going to have to finish the audio. You're going to have to master it yourself, add the room noise, or take away the noise floor, which then you lose a bunch of their quality of, don't worry, don't do that. Don't mess around with really cheap narrators. But yeah, generally paid narrator is great. A lot of times if you find somebody in the market, they'll have examples of their work. And so you can see that they know what they're doing because they've got a body of work already. This is the person I would go with. I wouldn't want to go with someone who's brand new to the game unless I knew them personally and knew that they could actually handle this, because the whole point of paying somebody else to do it is so you don't have to do the work. When they say per finished hour, that's what that's supposed to mean. It's per finished hour. It's not per unfinished hour. Well, here's, raw audio, but there's a train going by every 30 minutes, so make sure you give it a listen and take... No, you don't want that. It needs to be finished, ready to upload. There should be no mastering needed, okay? again, depending on your arrangement, maybe they're like, hey, I can just do a rough edit, a rough cut where, there's no typos. I'm not, not stumbling over my words like I am right now. It's going to be done, but you'll have to do some mastering, some level balancing, things like that. I've had that arrangement before. It saved me a lot of money because I can do that audio stuff on my own. I can do audio post all day long. So I'd got the files back and I said, okay, cool. I'm going to put it at, 24 LUFS and we're going to, go forward like that. If you can do that or you want to do that, then hey, you're in business. You can save a little, save some bucks. But generally speaking, per finished hour means finished hours. You want it to be done when you get it, so you're ready to go to the next step, which is distribution. Okay, let's talk about AI narration. What we're not going to talk about is the ethics surrounding AI, the moral, stuff surrounding AI. Because one, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an ethicist, I'm not a moralist. I don't even know if that's a thing. You are allowed to have whatever feelings you like about it. If you are just, hey, I'm just not comfortable with it, great. Don't let me try to convince you otherwise. What I will tell you, it just kind of brass tacks here, is it is certainly good enough to sell, certainly good enough to profit from as an author, and it is certainly getting better every single day. Okay, again, good or bad, better or worse, doesn't matter. I'm just talking like here's where we are right now. Okay, here's it in the industry. So real quick, Matt asked if there's a word count approximate per finished hour. Yeah, I had that. I can't remember where it is. Did I write that down? I didn't. I didn't write that down. Dang it. I can't remember what it was. Quick Google search will find the same thing I found. I wanted to say it's like 6,500 words, 9,500 words. I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But to put it into perspective, let's see. I guess you could do the math. I have done a bunch of audiobooks that are around the 80,000 to 100,000 word range, and they ended up clocking in at 8 to 10 hours. So, I guess that I answered my own question then. Is that 10,000 words per finished hour? So 9,500, I think, was the rate that I said. That one might be the one. But give it a quick Google. You'll be able to find it. Again, it depends on how fast the narrator talks. I tend to talk fast, so my narration is fast. I wouldn't worry too much about that either. If you have, I would lean on going with a faster narrator rather than a slower one. The thing is, everyone listening to your audiobook thinks that they know best, and they're like, well, I'm going to slow this down, I'm going to speed it up. And every little audiobook app will let you like speed up and slow down, 1.25x, and they can listen to your audiobook a little bit faster. So all that work you've put in to make it this robust, acted out, special drama, they're going to ruin it. But you're paying per finished hour. So if you have an audiobook narrator who talks like this, and you know that everyone's just going to speed it up anyway when they listen to it, don't pay that guy, because it's going to cost you so much more because you're paying for more hours of time, right? Does that make sense? I would lean on going faster. Go with a guy like me who talks super, super fast, and then just let your readers slow it down as they need to. If you want. Or you could do it yourself. You could slow that down in an app. Yeah, Randall, I am. That's what I was just getting to. So let's talk about AI. Here's the deal. We are at the point now where AI is no longer this newfangled, scary thing that sort of sounds bad, but it's cute and clever, and you can see how it might sound good one day. We are at the point where it is used by professionals every single day because it is absolutely as good as human narrators. I did not just say AI is better than all human narrators and human narrators should be out of jobs tomorrow. Okay, do not quote me saying that, because I didn't say that. I said AI narration is absolutely good on average as the average human narrator. Okay? Period. It just is. I've proven that, and I don't want to argue about it because, and I know you guys aren't arguing with me, but I've gotten into arguments about this. But I've been to conferences and I had this talk called Leverage Your Assets, and I try to, if I have time, I end it by explaining, my process of AI, and I play 2 files for everyone. I say, this is me recording my audiobook, give it a listen, and people listen and they're nodding, and all the audio files in the room are like trying, like, oh no, I can tell that's real, that's really good. And then I say, now I'm going to play the AI version, and I play it, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, no, I can tell that's AI. Yeah, I can definitely tell. And then I say, hey, I just lied to you. The first one I played was the AI version, and the second one was real. Okay, we have, as humans, this preconceived, it's like a defense mechanism that we immediately put up when somebody tells us this is this. We try to either hear that or not hear it, depending on the context, or see it or not see it. Right? If I say this is great art, you're immediately going to think there's a filter you're looking at it from, and you're going to say, yes, I agree with that is good art, or no, it's not. but it has nothing to do with the actual art, right? It's all the psychology of who is telling us this. Do I want to believe them? What preconceived notions do I have surrounding this thing? AI narration is the same way, guys. It's good enough. I'm not saying that it is the best thing ever and that everybody should stop talking. We just let AI talk for us. No, I'm just saying it is absolutely good enough. Very, very good enough. Very much so good enough. I don't even know if that makes sense to sell. Okay. And I'm not lying to people. I'm not saying that, oh, this is totally read by me in my basement, for 8 hours I spent. I'm not telling people that. I'm not lying to them, but it is my voice. In the case of the one I'm about to talk about, which is a professional voice clone. I don't charge what I charge if I did 8 hours or 10 hours in my office recording my book. That is a certain amount of time that I don't have, that I would have to charge $35 or $28 for my audiobook, whatever. I can charge $7, $8, $9, $10 for an AI narrated book because it didn't cost me as much to make. So that's the economics of it. You can argue with it all you want. You can hate it. That's just the truth of it. Authors like me, and there's a lot of us, and I'm just probably the only one willing to admit it, are looking at it going, okay, I can pay a human narrator to do this, but this book has never sold that well anyway. Why would I spend $800, whatever, minimum to get this produced when I can just go to 11 Labs or, Be Human or Well Said Labs or whatever, to go get this produced for $30, $40, $50, even $200, right? Sure, if you've got a bestseller and it's doing really, really well, it probably is worth it to hire a cast of people to narrate it and do it, this full drama production. But you wouldn't want to do that for every single book and short story and whatever that you've written, because those aren't ever going to generate enough profit to make it worth it in the first place. You don't owe any audiobook narrator your work. You don't owe that to anybody. It's yours. If they want to narrate and be in business, they can write their own damn book and narrate that, right? And I'm getting a little hot and bothered because I got in a major Twitter fight a couple years ago about this exact thing. The idea was that they were entitled to my work as narrators, and I was like, no, you're not entitled to anything of mine. Economics are going to make that decision for me, right? It's not a commercially smart decision to make to have you narrate my book, because you're going to charge, even on sale, 3 times more than what I can do to produce this audiobook through AI. And I'm going to use AI all day long because I don't know if it's going to sell. If it does, hell, maybe I'll hire you again and we can have 2 versions of it. And that's the second point I want to give you with AI narration. Don't think that one necessarily means you can't do the other. It doesn't preclude you from doing anything else, right? You can have both of these products and they can exist together on the same website page. Go to my website. You can see this. ConundrumPub.com has premium narration, which is human. And then it's got AI audio. I don't know what, a digital narration, right underneath it. One is half price of the other one, right? AI is cheaper than the other one. But I let the reader choose, and people do choose. They want the human, whatever reason. Doesn't matter. But I'm going to sell both of them, okay? You can do the same thing. For the books that sell really well, you can start with digital narration. Draft Digital is doing this through Apple, right? You can go and use their digitally narrated audiobooks and sell those and make a little bit of money to see if this is something that people want. And if they do, then you can use that money to afford a narrator. But then once you have both of them, you can sell both at the same time, okay? Which gets us into the distribution side. So we don't have a ton of time left. I just want to give you some of this distribution, some of the ideas surrounding it, and some of kind of what you're looking for. But I know you probably have questions about the AI stuff. Feel free to drop them in there. I'll try to save some time at the end. Randall, I know I didn't get detailed into the 11 Labs process because it really is as simple as just going to 11labs.io, signing up, looking around for narrators. They have a marketplace now, but all those voices are artificial intelligence created voices, right? So you're not going to find a really human narrator there, but you will find different voices to use, including mine. If you want to use my voice, I'm in their marketplace. Or you can record your own voice and have them do a professional voice clone, which is what I've done as well. And it comes back as a very, very good version of your voice, like really like scary good. Okay, so we'll talk about that if you want to do more. Yeah, the cloning process. Okay, yeah, I'll talk about that at the end. Let's talk about distribution real quick. Audiobook distribution is really not that complicated. The challenge with it is choosing the right place to distribute, okay? It's kind of the Wild West right now. I'll just admit that. So audiobook distribution channels change all the time. There was a service I used called Audiobooks Unleashed. I think audiobooks.com even has a distribution service, I think. Don't quote me on that. Of course, ACX, Audiobook Creation Exchange, is the old de facto standard. They've just been around forever, and they're not bad, but their exclusive deal is bad, right? They basically they are bad, actually. Their non-exclusive deal is pretty bad too, but it's not as bad as their exclusive deal. If you sign up with ACX and go exclusive, which means only to the stores they submit to, which is only Amazon, Audible, I should say, you're pretty much gonna take a bath. You're not gonna make nearly as much money as you probably could going with another distributor. So I don't recommend ACX for distribution. Findaway, I still think, is the best distributor out there because they are owned and backed by Spotify. Yes, there was a big old kerfuffle about a month ago with their terms of service and things like that, but we're not going to get into that. I don't think they were out to be hostile, and I don't think that they're trying to play some secret game. I think what they're doing is just playing CYA for when they not win, but for when they release their AI. I think that's what they're working on. I think they're just trying to prepare for that. Anyway, so I recommend Findaway Voices for distribution. You upload your book there. Again, it's all the different chapters separated. They'll have some requirements. They'll make sure that you check the It's Not AI box, which, by the way, was there from the beginning because it used to be true that AI kind of sucked. People didn't like the way it sounded. You could totally tell that it was computerized. Can't really tell these days. Ask me how I know, because some of my AI books I've submitted through Findaway and said they're not AI. I did lie. I didn't say no, they're not. But the whole point of that checkbox isn't because they're anti-AI. It's because they're pro-quality. Okay, and I decided that my quality of AI was so good, it was actually probably better than what I would do if I recorded it myself, because there's no, weird missed words. There's no sibilance. There's sibilance that gets out of hand. There's no pops. So I was like, hey, this is my voice. It's literally, I had to record it to have the vocal clone produced, and the quality is way better than anything else I could produce anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and check the box and say it's not AI. Well, hey, sue me. And it got through. It got through Audible, because you can distribute from Findaway to Audible, right? Which is how I recommend doing it. Non-exclusively, of course. It got through that. It got through their stringent policies and procedures and stuff. So, like I said, sorry, I lied. But the point is, they'll have a checkbox that says it's not AI. They'll have to make sure that it's certain high quality. They'll make sure that there's some room noise, which is this that you hear in the background. Every room's got some kind of noise. Every microphone interprets the environment it's in, and that turns into noise. Okay, and that becomes the noise floor. So as long as the noise floor is not too high, not too low, they'll let you in. Okay. So distribute through Findaway. Always choose non-exclusive wherever you go. If you end up going with some new place that no one's ever heard of, do not sign an exclusive deal. The exception would be if they give you a bunch of money up front. And they're like, hey, just here's $1 million, be exclusive to us. I'd be like, great, I'll cash that check all day long. Here's why. If I ever needed to, I could record a new version of that audiobook because it is a separate product from what I just sold away, right? Unlike our books, the Enigma strain is only going to be the Enigma strain in English, in that I cannot rewrite it or squirt it through ChatGPT and have it spit out some new. It's still the Enigma strain, right? I guess technically it would be rewritten, and I could probably label it something different, but that would be really weird. But you are allowed. There's no rules governing how many different audio versions you can have. I don't recommend going and setting up exclusive deals at all these places with different audio, different narrators and stuff, because all you're going to do is confuse your listenership. Your readers are going to try to find an audiobook from you where they like to shop for it, and they're going to be like, wow, what the hell? There's 5 of them here. And the distributors probably wouldn't like you doing that, of course, right? But there's no rules against doing that. So I have, like I said, I've got a digitally narrated version. I've got a premium human narrated version. Same cover design, same artwork, just says narrated by, and that's different. Those are 2 different products. This is just like if we were to make a drama production. I got, Craig Hart is a good friend of mine who does these amazing drama productions like Sherlock Holmes and everything. There's people acting things out. There's Foley, there's all kinds of stuff. There's sound and stuff in there. That is a different product than just somebody narrating Sherlock Holmes, right? And you can sell those next to each other. Yes, it's more similar if you have, a female narrator reading it and a male narrator reading it. Those are definitely the same product with 2 different narrators, but technically speaking, there are no rules preventing you from doing just that. So I envision a future where we will be able to have a website that says, okay, cool, here's Sherlock Holmes. I guess it wouldn't be translated. I guess, it was written in English, but, this version of it, if you will, And do you want it to be read by a female narrator or a male narrator? Then you click female. Okay, great. And then you say, okay, well, would you like it to have a British accent? I'd be like, oh, no, gross. Give me an American accent all day long because that's the legit English. And okay, great. Okay, well, would you like, a kind of a raspy older female who smoked all her life, or would you like this, gentle, cute, innocent sounding young woman? And I'd say, neither one. Okay, cool. Here's a third option. And you just go down the list and you click it, and the service, whatever this is, I'm just making this up as I go along, will generate the audio file on the fly using that voice. It would be AI narrated, but it would be based on a vocal clone of a professional narrator. That's the world I envision us going to. So I have no qualms selling one version of my audiobook to this market and another one to this market. Okay, let's talk about YouTube, because this gets into the YouTube sort of side of things. YouTube is a perfect example of a market that exists wholly separate from the market that we currently have. Meaning, the people who listen to my audiobooks on YouTube are like never the same people who go and buy my books from my website or from Audible or from the library. They're just completely different people. Okay, there's usually those concentric circles where there's a lot of overlap, but people who like YouTube and people who like Nick's books, and then the people in the middle who buy them, that just doesn't exist with YouTube. There's just all these people that love audio that only listen to them on YouTube. It's super weird. It's a kind of a crazy phenomenon, and that may change. But right now, that means I want to get all my books onto YouTube. So I cannot be exclusive with these audiobooks, but also it's a perfect place to test the AI narration side of things, because I'm not going to spend all kinds of money getting things onto YouTube that people are just going to get for free. Why would I do that? Well, one of the reasons you may do that is to go get monetized on YouTube, which you need, I think, 8,000 watch hours in the past year and 1,000 subscribers minimum. I've monetized both my channels. I've got a nonfiction Book Career in a Year side, and I've also got the fiction channel. And the fiction side is where I put all these YouTube audiobooks. And right now, they are generally the same audiobook that I'm going to distribute elsewhere, non-exclusively. So there's nothing, I'm not getting any hot water here. I'm going to sell them on my website. It's the same audiobook. But in the past, I've also tested like a cheaper version, an AI that wasn't as good, perhaps. I think Well Said Labs was the one that I used originally. But then I had a human narrator. I had Mike do the narration for The Enigma Strain and some of the other books. Obviously, that's a human narrated one. And so that would be the one that I would distribute and sell, whereas the AI one would be the one I'd put on YouTube. And I wanted to see if people would listen to it and like it, and they did. And so I decided, okay, great. Going forward, it doesn't make sense for me to produce multiple versions. I'm just going to use this AI vocal clone of my own voice reading it, and I've got a contract, with Tantor or whoever to do the audio and human narration, the premium style. But I'm going to use the AI stuff on YouTube because it's a whole different market. People who don't know my stuff, don't know my work, and I can still make a little bit of money from the YouTube monetization side. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, look, there's a lot of stuff here. Let me, I hope I answered a little bit, Randall, about the 11 Labs thing. I'm going to stop here and take a few minutes for questions because it is getting toward the end. But I wanted to remind you, I'm working on a course for all of this stuff. So everything that I mentioned, I'm going to go into gratuitous detail for you. You can see it. I'll show you what the 11 Labs interface looks like and how to do it. And I will show you the marketplace and how to find voices on there. I'll do that same thing for human marketplaces like ACX. I'll show you all that stuff. So if you're interested in that, just pay attention. Maybe ping me. Let me know that you want it. I'll give you a coupon or something so you can get it nice and cheap. But the goal is to get all this information and unpack it for you and show you this is exactly how I've done it. Again, I try to make everything descriptive of my process and not prescriptive. Like, you have to do this. So if you're anti-AI, totally fine. But there's a module in there for it if you're ready and you want to do that. Otherwise, you can do the other two options, which is self-narrate or paid narrator. Okay? So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about it. I know I also have a marketing course that I'm doing. I had to actually rebuild a lot of that because the information was outdated. And so I decided to go not more generic, but a little bit more like high level for the marketing course, because it needs to be bundled now. It used to be like, oh, maybe I will bundle. Now I'm like, it needs to be bundled with the social media, email marketing, and advertising courses, which I'm also working on. So that's a big, massive thing. It's going to take a little bit longer than I thought. Apologize. But in the meantime, you get to buy an audiobook course. Woo! If you're into that. Okay, cool. Joan asks, what do you think about authors reading their books on their YouTube channels? Yeah, that's basically what I'm talking about. I don't know if that comment came in before I started talking about YouTube, but it doesn't have to be AI narrated. You can do this same thing and go into your YouTube, go into a DAW, record it, and then upload it to YouTube. Now, YouTube is a video site, okay? So I didn't mention this, but you do need to have a video. And the best way to do that is to go to some place like storyblocks.com or Deposit Photos, anywhere that has stock video, and grab a video that's like 30 seconds long. And you can do multiple videos. Like Storyblocks, you pay one time monthly or yearly fee, and you get as many videos as you want. So I'll go in and be like, oh, this one's set like, in the Giza Plateau with the pyramids. So I'll get a bunch of videos about the pyramids, and I'll just dump them in to make like 2 minutes, and then I'll just repeat it. I'll literally copy paste that in Adobe Premiere until the 8-hour video is done. So that's how I do the video, and then I'll put the bitrate way down. If you're a video guy, get in your video settings when you export that video and bounce out to MOV or MP4, whatever. You can lower the bitrate to like 1. And this makes your video entirely unwatchable. But all you're doing there is saving file size. So now you've got, instead of like a 5 gigabyte video, you've got like, a 1 gigabyte video. And then you can upload that to YouTube. And that makes it it goes a little faster. And, because people aren't watching the video, right? They're just listening. But you have to have a video in order to upload to YouTube. You can't upload just an audio file. Joan, to put this into perspective, I started doing this with a few of my books. The first month, I think I had The Enigma Strain was out for a month, and I had just launched the Amazon code. This was the really crappy Well Said Labs narration, and I think I made $400 that first month. So this is free money. Like, in a sense, free money, right? Like, it's not something you should sleep on. If there is any way, shape, or form you can get an audiobook produced and thrown on YouTube, test it out, because it might be a new way forward for you. That was one book. Now, that I'll admit, that sort of slid down, and my graph, I guess your perspective, my graph kind of looks like that. Started looking like that because I wasn't doing anything else. I wasn't consistent with videos. I wasn't doing any kind of SEO. I didn't have tags. I didn't have a good title. My thumbnails sucked. If you get that stuff into place, and that's beyond the scope of this live stream, then you can actually start making really good money. I know a good friend of mine and I were talking about this in Vegas, and she makes like $30,000 a year on YouTube just from her audiobooks. And I don't know how many she has, but it's fewer than the number I have. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is something to jump on, right? And so I'm starting to do that. My income's going up every single month. Getting a little bit more interest and people subscribing because they know that a new audiobook's going to come out. But again, I have a big backlist. I have a long backlist of 40 something titles that I can just constantly churn and get going and generate a little bit of income. Obviously, that's just YouTube. Those same audiobooks, generally speaking, if they're AI and they're not very good, obviously they're not. Don't try to sell them and tell people they're not AI. But if they are good and they're really well produced, you can also use those to sell them. Put them on all the places that audiobooks are sold. Cool. Wes and Randall, yes and yes. Those are questions that I absolutely will cover in the audiobook course, because that's really the question. It's like, how do you do this, right? One of the things I'm going to try to add to the course is a freebie course from a friend of mine who talks about this YouTube stuff. Because I think it's so valuable for where we are right now that it's information you guys should have. So he'll get into the marketing side a little bit. And yes, I will include a brief module on the marketing. Basically, it's not any different from marketing an ebook. Email marketing, advertising, social media. Okay. So I don't talk about it a lot because it's just not that different. There's not any silver bullet for marketing an audiobook. It's the same slog. It's the same kind of work as marketing anything else in the author world, in the author sphere. Okay. Billboards don't work. I've tested this extensively. I have a website called roadtripreads.com where I was going to buy billboard ads and have like a QR code or something. But then I'm like, people are literally going to have to get their phone out while they're driving and scan. Like, this isn't going to work. And it's only up there for like 2 seconds. So that kind of stuff doesn't work, but email marketing, social media, and advertising work. The whole point is it's this long, slow, uphill battle. And once you get up there and you've done all the work, and all of a sudden your audiobook starts selling really, really well. And it's really hard to point to one thing that worked, because it wasn't one thing. It was all the work you put in and all the time you put in, and just being consistent and making good quality products over and over and over again, keeping the backlist going, writing new books, making new audiobooks. It's nothing new. But yes, to answer your question, I'm going to talk about that in the course a little bit more. Randall asked, how do I move AI audiobooks directly? Same exact way. Market them to the people that are already following you. One of the things I like to do is on my website, which is a direct sales platform based on WordPress, that's a WooCommerce site, is I have a plugin called FunnelKit. And FunnelKit is really, really cool. It's exactly what it sounds like. It makes funnels. So I have a really nice landing page, and I run ads to the landing page, right? So that's how I get traffic to it. But the landing page is like, hey, here's a free book. And then the next page is what we call an upsell offer or an order bump, where it's like, hey, you got the free books. They're on the way. Totally fine to just close this tab. However, if you want more, I'm offering this book to you for 99 cents. And they click it and they buy it. And then I say, okay, here's the upsell. In the shopping cart, they see, hey, do you want to add the audiobook for $7? And they click that. And all of a sudden, I've made $8 from somebody that I got from Facebook from a traffic ad, right? Nice and cheap ad, not a sales ad, but a cheap traffic ad. And they've converted and given me $8. Now, that doesn't happen every single time. Obviously, it might be 1 in 100, but I've got people on my list and I've got a buyer. And so FunnelKit does this, but you can also do it for just sales. So one of the things I like to do is whenever you buy an ebook on my store, in the shopping cart, a lot of times you'll see an order bump where a little toggle switch. It says, do you want the audiobook version for $6? Boom, click the toggle, adds it to the cart right there, and they check out and they're good to go. That's the best way I've found to do it. I like doing everything direct because I control every part of the process. And FunnelKit lets you do A/B testing and all that. I can do a little module about that. That'll be in the marketing course for sure. But I can do a little module about that for audio because I think that is helpful. And I do have an affiliate link for FunnelKit. So if you want it, you don't have to use that, but it doesn't cost you anything else. Gets me a little bit of money. I love FunnelKit. I've used 4 or 5 WordPress plugins that just sucked. They were just bad. And I paid a lot of money for them. And I switched to FunnelKit now, and they're just awesome. They're perfect. Robin, what if you can't listen to audiobooks but want to have them quality checked? Okay, I would use a service called Positron. I believe it's Pozotron, or it might be POS, but it's PO something OTRON, Posotron. And Positron.com, it's a program, it costs money, but I believe it runs in your web browser, so you don't have to install anything. You just upload your file and upload your book, your EPUB file, I think, and it syncs them up. And it's like, using digital transcription, it's AI, to verify that the word that's being spoken is the word that's in the book. And so it very quickly will highlight anything that's not right. Say, this person missed a word or they added an extra word, or maybe there's false positives, but it gives you these little flags. So real quickly you can go through each chapter and just say, oh yeah, I need the guy to redo this one, or I need the gal to re-record this section. Or hey, you missed a word here, but I'm using AI so I can just type that in and put it in, whatever. So it's really, really helpful. I would recommend doing that. Another way to do audiobook QC is to let your list do it, to outsource this, to crowdsource this. So you've got a list of X amount of people and offer them the book for a discounted price. I wouldn't give it to them for free because it still is, going to cost you money. And these are people who if anybody wants to buy things from you, it should be people on your list. I'm a huge fan of not giving things away for free to people who have proven that they want to buy from me, right? Anyway, so send it to your list and say, hey, here's a coupon code. Here's the deal. If you hear something weird, let me know. You can just put that in the audio, record it, just a little snippet of your voice. Hey, I just had this produced. Make it professional. I wouldn't say I just had this produced and say, hey, this is the author. If you hear anything that sounds weird or missed a word, let me know. It somehow snuck through my QC. Send an email to this link. I don't give a rip at nickthacker.com, whatever. And then, you'll get those back. My buddy Kevin has done this for years with his ebooks, and it works like gangbusters. People love finding mistakes because people like being right about stuff, right? So people will love sending him emails. Your back sucks. I found 3 typos. And he's like, thanks. You just edited my book for me for free. Joke's on you, sucker. Do the same thing with audiobooks, right? Have them do it for you for free. Thanks, Randall. It is Positron with a Z. Appreciate that. I hope that helps, Robin. 2 ways to do it there. Positron is kind of the automated, real fast proofing service. I love it. It's super good. And I don't use it all the time because AI doesn't introduce errors. Of course, if there's an error or typo in the book, I want to fix that. But Positron won't catch that because it's getting the same book file that has the error and that the AI was turned into speech. Does that make sense? Okay. Cool. Well, we're past time, so I'm going to shut the recording off. As I mentioned, thank you for being here. I hope this helps you and serves you well. As I said, there's a lot of stuff, and so I'm expanding this into an audiobook course, which I hope you will pick up because it really is going to be all this stuff, but in great detail. So whatever you need help with, oh, there's a video for that. Oh, I need help with this. There's a video for that. And I'll include links to things like Positron and how to do QC and all that. I'll include email templates so you can use this and send it out to your people. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'm going to run. I got another meeting here and then another meeting and then a couple more meetings. Then I get to play hockey tonight, and it's my birthday on Saturday. So happy birthday to me. I will win by scoring 500 goals tonight just for you. That's my gift for my birthday to you. Thanks for being here. I hope this serves you well. Let me know if you have any questions. I will answer them. Not right now. At some point, though, I will answer the questions, and you just drop wherever you're watching this from. Drop it in the comment thingy. There's a box there. Just type away, and I will get back to you as soon as